He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week and head into a Memorial Day weekend here on the First Coast. The official kickoff of summer, right? Hope you guys have a terrific time, but we're with you for the next 2 hours to take you in to that weekend. We got game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA. If you're the New York Knicks, how do you come back from what happened 48 hours ago? I guess that's why you call Dan Hicken, right? You get Hicken in the Garden, anything's possible for the Knickerbockers, but they need to come out strong early tonight. Remember, it was the first time in 1,415 playoff games dating back to 1998 that a team was up 9 with under a minute to go in a playoff game and lost. And, now you get 48 hours to shake off the cobwebs, and it's a must-win situation probably for the Knicks tonight. If you go down 0-2 at the Garden going to Indiana, you're in a lot of trouble. So really interesting to see how this game starts. It's going to tip off here in about less than 10 minutes or so. We'll keep you updated. We got Dallas and Edmonton, game 2 of the Western Conference Finals in the National Hockey League. Dallas was losing that game 3-1 going into the third period on Wednesday night. Ended up winning the game, I believe, 6-3. Right? They scored 5 unanswered. So we'll keep you updated on both the hockey and the basketball. We won't get too far away from the National Football League. Won't get too far away from the Jacksonville Jaguars. In fact, that's where we're going to start here in one moment. We will do a little college football talk tonight. Will Miles of ReadandReaction.com, also the Gators Breakdown podcast. Will does the Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine every year, and it's fantastic. Over 70 pages just of Florida Gator content. That magazine is available as of today. So Will Miles of ReadandReaction.com will join me to talk about that magazine, the work that went into putting it in, and about Florida heading into 2025. That conversation comes up in less than 15 minutes. Our NFC East previews wrap up tonight as well. We've been to Dallas. We've been to Washington. We've been to Philadelphia. Tonight, we will end with the New York Football Giants. My buddy Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post is our guy when it comes to the Giants, and we'll look back on the offseason that has been for New York and their outlook for 2025. And as I told Baloo there during the 2-minute drill, with Major League Baseball, almost every team now is past the 50-game mark already. Where did that go? 50 games into the regular season. We're going to be talking about all-star breaks and trade deadlines in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So we'll do a little 50-game recap, if you will. Big stories across Major League Baseball. Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com joins us early on in the 9 o'clock hour. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us to close out the week on a Friday. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
By the way, Denmark, welcome back. You were out last night because it was spring high school football all over the area for the last week or two. You are part of your alma mater, the Baldwin High School coaching staff. I know you had a little get-together, spring jamboree style, with Yulee and First Coast last night. How did your guys look?
It was all right. First Coast, we beat them 14-0 the first half. In the second half, Yulee took it to us. They had a bigger line. They were more physical, and they had been in the weight room a little more than us. So we got humbled, which is good because if you just go out there and do what you're supposed to do, and you win both halves. The kids tend not to listen to you, so Yuli's got a good staff, a good team. Looks like Yulee won both halves against Baldwin and First Coast.
How do high schools here take spring jamborees? Back when I played, you practiced a lot harder in the spring than you played in the jamboree.
Yeah, practice is a lot different. Most teams, from what I've seen, you play your starters the first half, and then you play your backup / JV the second half.
Well, welcome back. Glad your guys at least won one of their halves last night, as we'll be under the Friday Night Lights very, very soon. Let's see, what year will this be? Year 19, I believe. It'll be 19 years for us under the Friday Night Lights starting in August, and we are certainly looking forward to that. All right, big deal of the night, and I got this thought from listening to Tony Boselli. He and John Osher do the EV podcast on the Jaguar social media platforms. Boy, Boselli does such a good job with all that stuff. Ozone as well. I'm big fans of both. But in the conversation earlier this week, Tony was talking about, and Ozone was talking about the schedule and what his thoughts were. And Tony said, look, I mean, the bottom line is the schedule's one thing, but we don't know how these teams are going to shake out. Every team's different. Somebody that finished last year in a division's likely to finish first this year in a division, which sort of piqued my interest a little bit. So if you go back to last season, all right, go back to 2024, I pulled up not necessarily teams that finished last in every division, but I pulled up the worst of the worst. I mean, the teams that had the worst record last year in the National Football League. Obviously, the Jaguars were among them. Every team that had either 3 or 4 wins, that was my criteria. Either 3-14 or 4-13. The New York Giants fit in that criteria. You also had the New England Patriots, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interesting, we think of the AFC as being the dominant conference because of all the quarterbacks, yet the NFC won the Super Bowl, and of the worst teams in football, it was Tennessee, Jacksonville, Cleveland, Las Vegas, and New England, all with 4 wins or less. The only team in the NFC that had 4 wins or less, the New York Football Giants. Just something to think about moving forward. But Jacksonville is in this mix. So if you look at it on paper, of the teams that were awful last year, who had the best offseason? Who is the most likely to turn it around based on what they have done over the last 4 months? Well, let's look at it. The Las Vegas Raiders, new coaching staff with Pete Carroll, new quarterback with Geno Smith, new running game with Ashton Genty, right? And I kind of like what the Raiders did. But their problem is they play in the same division as Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix, all 3 of which who went to the playoffs last year. So that in and of itself will hurt Las Vegas' chance in this. The Cleveland Browns, 3-14. All you need to know there is their projected starting quarterback right now is either Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. Their starting running back is probably going to be Jerome Ford or a second-round rookie. They got problems in Cleveland. So I don't think they're in for a big turnaround, at least on paper. The New England Patriots. Well, that's an interesting one. They spent a lot of money this offseason. They went out and improved themselves. And they drafted Will Campbell in the draft. Drake May coming into year number 2. Could it be New England? Perhaps. I don't know about that necessarily, but perhaps New England could turn it around. But then again, their problem is they're in a division with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. 2 teams that you would think are going to be pretty good in 2025. The New York Giants, who's their quarterback? Is it Russell Wilson? Is it Jackson Dart? And again, when you have to play the Eagles twice, the Commanders twice, and the Cowboys twice, that probably seals your fate. And that leaves us with 2. The Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tennessee is young with Cam Ward. I don't think they're as good as Jacksonville, at least not yet. Which brings me to Jacksonville. And maybe this is homerism taking over. Maybe I'm seeing through teal and black goggles here. But again, I'm not comparing Jacksonville to any great team. I'm comparing Jacksonville to the New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the New England Patriots. Again, the only teams that had 4 or fewer wins last year. And when you look at what Jacksonville did in getting Travis Hunter, bringing in a guy like De'Ami Brown, bringing in 6 new offensive linemen between free agency and the draft, bringing in a new safety in Eric Murray, a new nickel corner in Jordan Lewis. They brought in a lot of guys, not to mention a brand new coaching staff, a brand new general manager. It's a brand new direction here in Jacksonville. Of the teams that won 4 or fewer games last year in 2025, if you're looking for a team to make a decent jump to maybe 500 or dare I say even better, I think of those teams, Jacksonville is the most likely. They play in the worst division. They have the easiest path, relatively speaking. And I think they improve their roster the most. Do I think Jacksonville's a Super Bowl team? No. Oh, don't say Hacker. Oh, you're glass half full. What are you talking about? The Jaguars or this, that, and the other. I'm not saying they're anything great. But I'm saying look at those 4-win or 3-win teams in 2024. The Giants, the Patriots, the Raiders, the Browns, the Titans, and the Jaguars. There's 6 of them total. You tell me Jacksonville, of those 6, doesn't have the best chance to improve the most in 2025. I think they do, and I think they will. What will that mean in the grand scheme of things? Who knows? But if there is a team that was awful last year that could make a decent jump this year, sign me up for the Jacksonville Jaguars. More on the National Football League, more on the Jaguars coming up in just a bit. Again, we'll keep you updated as well. NBA playoffs, they're just tipping things off at Madison Square Garden. Game 2, Pacers and Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Coming up next, let's get into the world of college football. Will Miles does a terrific job with ReadandReaction.com. Every year, he puts out the Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine, over 70 pages of Gator content. That magazine is out officially today. We'll have Will Miles on to talk about it next on a Friday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Something is coming. It's 1010XL.
We actually found it! Yes.
That's all that matters to me.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case, plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the king of beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
I mean, to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. I'm here to share that the Gator Bowl is actually a year-round organization. We're known for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl football game, which has been a Jacksonville staple for more than 80 years. Off the football field, the Gator Bowl has also hosted the annual Florida State baseball game, a champion of local youth through Gator Bowl charities, and a strong networking organization of local individuals and companies through our membership. We're actually looking to grow membership, which is an affordable, fun way for you to get involved and give back to our community. To learn more, visit GatorBowl.com for more information.
I'm Max Fink on your Gator station. 1010XL is your pipeline to Gator Nation. Listen to the Gator Report all year round.
Freshened up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators. 1010XL.
Go, Gators!
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Mike Dempsey, and now's the time to get your roof hurricane ready with Apex Roofing and Contracting of Jacks Beach. Look, our rainy season is no joke, and if your roof's got damage, leaks, or it's just plain worn out, don't wait. Apex is local, dependable, and will show up on time using only premium materials with ironclad warranties. No shortcuts, no stress, just quality work you can trust. Skip the storm season scramble. Reach for the peak with Apex Roofing and Contracting in Jacks Beach or visit apexroofingfl.com.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee and Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand new offices at Walk-Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
Jacksonville, you know a good defense wins games, and a good fence protects your home. Frank Frangie here. Coil Fencing has been around the block since 1927. Literally, they probably fenced it too. From tough chain link to sleek aluminum fences your HOA will love, Coil is the name to trust. Nearly a century strong and still standing tall. Call Coil today. You can trust them. Call 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
At Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach, you just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it, come see us.
David here with Royal Pest Services. Man, don't let your yard be torn up by that heavy aeration machine this spring. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to learn more about our granular aeration. Broadcast throughout the tree and shrubs to break up that compacted soil. Visit RoyalPestServices.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The end of May means college football preseason magazines will be in your hands very shortly, and that includes the Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason football magazine. I tell you guys every year, it's one of my favorites. The man that does it is Will Miles of readandreaction.com. The magazine is available today, and Will joins us here on 1010XL. Will, how you doing, man?
Doing well. It's been a lot of work to get this out there, but we're excited to hear what people have to say about it. And honestly, excited about the Gators season coming up here in 2025, only a few months away.
Yeah, no doubt. And I tell you this every year. I think your magazine, the job you do, is absolutely terrific when it comes to Florida Gator preseason coverage. Before we talk about the magazine and the team, Will, just talk about the man hours that goes into putting a magazine like this together.
Yeah, it's funny. We started 4 years ago, and we just had a digital copy. And people requested that they have something in their hands. So we go through Amazon now, and it's a hard printed thing that you can get in your hands. We've got a digital version available as well, but just finding the printer and all the typeset and all that sort of stuff takes a while. But obviously generating the content. I mean, we've got film studies in there. We've got breakdowns on recruiting and NIL and DJ Lagway and breaking him down compared to the other quarterbacks in the SEC. So it's a labor of love. We enjoy doing it, but certainly it's a significant amount of effort.
Want to mention this again at the end of the interview, but for people right now that want to get the Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason football magazine, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Yeah, so you go to readandreaction.com/mag. That's readandreaction.com/MAG, and that'll take you to all the links to get there.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrific. All right, let's talk about the football team, and let's begin right at the top with Billy Napier. I actually saw that Billy Napier was here in Jacksonville recently, taking in a Jaguar OTA. The Jaguars' social media account tweeted out photos of he and new Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen. Will, I think when you and I talked in May of 24, we didn't know if we'd be talking about Billy Napier in May of 25. Yet here we are. Your thoughts on Billy heading into year number 4?
Yeah, I mean, he's got an easier road, at least early this year. He's had those rough starts the last couple of years against Utah and against Miami, and sort of everything kind of was pinned against him and had his back against the wall after those games. This year, a couple of cupcakes to open things up. So I think that helps. Obviously, did not go for a big-name offensive coordinator, which means if the offense struggles at all, certainly a lot of criticism is going to be lobbed his way. He's 17-17 in his time in Gainesville. Which means really anything short of a playoff berth isn't gonna do it for the fans in Gainesville. And certainly, you look at the success that Todd Golden's had on the basketball court, and that sort of ramps up the pressure, because as much as Gator fans enjoy winning a national championship in basketball, it's the football program they really care about. So, look, Napier has talked about being slow and methodical and building the program to where it needs to be. And this year, with the defensive linemen who are coming back because of NIL in many ways, and then DJ Lagway at quarterback, it's really, this is the year for Napier to get it done. And I think we're going to know at the end of 2025 whether Billy Napier is going to be in Gainesville for the long haul, or whether we're just sort of, on that coach roller coaster again. Not necessarily that he would be let go after this year, but I think we would have a really good idea of whether the program's going to get to where it needs to get to.
Will Miles, readandreaction.com. He's also a part of the Gators Breakdown podcast. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Will, there's a thought, at least among people I've talked to. I had Josh Pate on earlier this week, some other national folks as well, that are high on Florida. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that they could be in the mix for a playoff, even with that schedule this year. As Josh told me, Florida has to play Texas, but Texas has to play Florida, which I thought was an interesting way to look at it. What is your thought from a mile-high view? Could Florida live up to that and be in the mix come November for a playoff position?
Yeah, I mean, so it's certainly possible. I think one of the things that we have in the magazine, I actually titled the article "The Ron Roberts Resurrection," and there was a distinct shift, and you can see it statistically after the first bye week. And I don't just mean like there was a shift and the defense got better. There was a shift in terms of what they were doing and how they were playing defense. And really, it kind of came down to Roberts, I think, specifically freeing up the linebackers to do what they can do best. And I think Florida now has some strength in that linebacker room, which gives me reason to believe that the defense can be significantly better this year. The reality, though, is that this year is going to come down to DJ Lagway, and it's going to come down to health. And you can say that most years in the SEC, it's going to come down to the quarterback, and it's going to come down to health. But Florida, I think when you look at the starters, has a playoff-worthy roster. I think the questions become when you start getting into that 2 deep and potentially 3 deep as an SEC schedule moves along, then that becomes the question. Now, the good news for the Gators is their difficult road games are early in the year. And so one, you can probably shake off a road loss or two early in the year. And if you're hot at the end, you'll get pretty good consideration for the playoff. But the other part is that typically, like if you look at Alabama last year, they got clipped on the road 3 times. If you look at Ole Miss last year, who I think was probably one of the best teams in the country, they got clipped on the road twice in close one-score games towards the end of the year. So having those road games loaded up early in the season, and then also I do think that Billy Napier decided to make a philosophical shift with Ron Roberts on defense gives me hope that the defense is going to be able to take a step forward. And with Lagway coming in full time, obviously when he was starting, he didn't lose. So, if he continues that on, Florida's going to have a shot.
Let's talk about DJ Lagway. As you mentioned, Florida will go as far as DJ Lagway can take them. And, Will, one of the things I brought up a couple of weeks ago, look, I like DJ Lagway. I'm happy he's a Gator. I think he's going to be a good player. But if you look at his numbers last year, 60% completion percentage, I think 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I think most Gator fans would be surprised if they looked at the stats, because I think he played better than those stats indicate. What is your thought on Lagway coming into his sophomore campaign?
So my main thought is that he struggled whenever defenses didn't give him man-to-man looks, but he was able to take advantage of the man-to-man looks and hit the big plays. And so if you look at his yards per attempt, he was right around 10, which is elite. And that's where people really are getting excited, is that even though he wasn't very efficient, he was incredibly effective because the big plays were there. And typically, if you look at quarterback play, guys who can make the big plays and do it consistently and do it accurately can see a significant boost in play because they start hitting some of the underneath stuff as things slow down, as they understand sort of the gaps in the zones and where those holes are going to be and what the defense is trying to do. I think that's the hope for Lagway, but obviously he has to take that step forward. I think it's completely opposite. If you look at a guy like Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, where he's pretty good, maybe 10 yards in, but struggles as you get further out. And that's a guy that I would not project to be somebody in like the Heisman race or lead a team to a national title because of that profile. So to me, the thing about Lagway is that he's already shown on the field that he can do the difficult things that most quarterbacks can't. And now it's a question of getting him to be able to make more than a half field read, getting him to understand that if the defense is in a zone, that he's got a zone buster on one side or he's got a man buster on the other side if they're in man. Like just understanding exactly what the offense is trying to do, given what the defense is giving him, I think is going to be that next step forward. And look, he didn't throw very much during the offseason, which means the time he was spending with the coaches should have been in the film room. And so I would expect him to be able to take a step forward. The question is going to be, does he take a small step forward or does he take a huge step forward? And that's really probably going to determine, are we sitting at 8-4 or 10-2 is how big is that step?
Will Miles, readandreaction.com. The Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine is available now. We'll tell you about it again and how to get your copy in just a moment. When you look at the skill position, Will, obviously a lot of excitement about Jaden Baugh. I think Jackson at the running back position also did some really nice things in the spring. And then you look at that receiving core. You get Trey Wilson back. If he stays healthy, we know how good he is. And then it's a lot of youth, right? It's a lot about the freshmen, including obviously Dallas Wilson, who people are very excited about. How would you assess the skill position around DJ Lagway?
I mean, I think there's a lot of potential there, but potential doesn't necessarily win you any games, right? I think Sturdivant coming in, the transfer from UCLA, he had a good year at Cal and then a couple of years at UCLA. They were sort of Trey Wilson obviously has had some injuries. Even in his true freshman season, I think he only played 9 games. So getting him through an entire season becomes a challenge. And then the question is, who steps up at that other position? I mean, there are guys already on the roster like Aiden Mizell and Tank Hawkins who might step into that role. And I think that's actually probably the key to the receiving core is they need one of those guys to step up in a role, not necessarily a star role, but step into a role where, that allows a guy like Dallas Wilson to maybe come along a little bit slower. Because, look, I mean, we all remember, or at least I think most Gator fans remember Felipe Franks lighting up the spring games. And the question is, can you transfer what's going on in the spring game to the actual field? And typically for true freshman receivers, I mean, Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State last year is a little bit of an outlier. That's not always what you see with 5-star receivers. A lot of times it takes them a little while to get going, which means you're probably looking at like 20, 25, maybe 30 receptions from a guy like Dallas Wilson. Now, certainly if Wilson and, and some of the other new guys coming in, Vernell Brown, for instance, if those guys are each able to put up 25 or 30 receptions, well, now you sort of in aggregate bring a star receiver in there. But, I don't like saying this true freshman has to be a star, but in many ways, in order to have true differentiation at that position, that's probably what's going to need to happen.
Will, as we begin to wrap up, the lines of scrimmage, I thought the offseason started with a bang when you get Austin Barber and Jake Slaughter back on the O-line. You get Caleb Banks, Tyreek Sapp back on the D-line. How do you assess the trenches on both sides of the ball heading into the year?
So I think there's a ton of depth on the offensive line, which makes me feel really good because you need to keep Lagway healthy. And so, obviously Slaughter's an All-American, but all the other guys, you look at like their Pro Football Focus numbers, they're up in the, high 70s for most of those positions. And so you can be pretty confident that Lagway's probably going to have some pretty good protection. Even if you look at the two deep, you've got guys who have performed pretty well. On the defensive line, Sapp was far and away the best player on the defense, and Banks in the last few games was one of the most disruptive. And if you look at Florida's success, it really sort of did tie to being able to create havoc up front. The place I'm really excited to see is what do we get from LJ McCray? So he was the 5-star defensive end who came in with Lagway, last year, and then got some time on the field, but didn't necessarily like flash star potential. If he can step up a defensive end to a point where you then no longer have the ability to isolate and double team Banks and Sapp, now all of a sudden you've got a defense that can really take a step forward. I think George Gumbs is a good player. I think the profile of LJ McCray suggests he could be a real difference maker. So to me, on the line, if you're asking me where do I want to see somebody step up, it's McCray stepping up and being a difference maker. Something like Harold Perkins at LSU a couple of years ago, where he's able to come off the edge and make quarterbacks fear him, where you have to kick somebody out to double team, keep a running back in to chip him or a tight end in to chip him. And even then, you don't necessarily always get him to the ground. So McCray is the guy I'm really looking at. Obviously, I think Banks and Sapp are both going to be good. I think Sapp's going to be really, really good. But giving those guys some help, I think, is probably the key to really having a dominant defense.
Will, as we make the turn for home, again, I want to talk about the magazine again in one moment. The defense as a whole, there were some issues last year, early in the year. As you said, they played considerably better down the stretch. What's your thought on the defensive unit?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to linebackers. I think Pup Howard early in the season played pretty well, but there were some holes there, and especially some holes where they were doing some things where they were bringing the linebackers to generate pressure and dropping defensive linemen into coverage. They stopped doing that after the first bye week, and the linebacker play really stabilized. Now you've got guys like Miles Graham and Aaron Childs and Jaden Robinson and even Grayson Howard now, all in their second year in the system. And to me, that's going to be a real key to the defense is, are those linebackers going to feel free to be able to roam around and really cause havoc? Because, look, they're against some of the better teams in the SEC. You're going to have linebackers who can hold up. And we saw against Texas last year, I would say that the linebackers really got picked on in that game considerably. Now everybody on Florida's defense got picked on in that game against Texas, but the linebackers especially got picked on. And so being able to have those guys roam free and, again, be difference makers, same thing I said about McCray, I think is sort of the thing that I'm looking for there. Devin Moore staying healthy would be great. Thornton and Castell at safety. They really were a pretty decent tandem by the time you got to the end of the year. But I just look at linebacker. That's a place where you think about really like the last time Florida had really good linebacker play, it was when they had David Reese in the middle back in 2018, 2019. And that was really the last time Florida had a halfway decent defense. And so I think it's going to come down to linebacker play, and it's really going to come down to Howard and Graham probably in the middle there.
Will Miles, Read and Reaction. All right, the Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine is available today. Will, tell Gator fans here in Jacksonville about the magazine and the best way that they can get it.
Yeah, it's 70-plus pages. It is available as hard copy and digital. It's Florida only, so that's really our differentiation. Is it's 70 pages where you get to read all about the Gators. Talking about Napier, talking about NIL, talking about recruiting, talking about the transfer portal, certainly talking about Lagway and the defense. And my favorite part is an article called The Insert that talks about how Billy Napier can help DJ Lagway schematically when defenses do decide to drop into zone coverage, which is an area where he struggled last last year. So you can get it over at our website, readandreaction.com. Again, if you go specifically to readandreaction.com/mag, that'll take you to all the links to get it either on Amazon or buy it digitally as a PDF.
Will, congratulations on the magazine. I know how much work goes into that. Again, Florida Gator fans, I highly recommend it. Will does a terrific job. Thank you as always, pal, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. Will Miles, Read and Reaction with us here on 1010XL, and I mean it. I get a copy of that thing every year. It's 70-plus pages. It's only Gators, right? It's not like Wendy's or Athlon. You're not going to get a write-up on every team. It's 70 pages of Florida Gator news, tidbits, articles. It's really good. And Will, if you know that website, he's kind of one of the analytic guys, so he breaks down the numbers, breaks down the positions and the position battles, and you name it about Florida Gator football in 2025. Odds are it's in that Read and Reaction preseason Florida Gator magazine. We appreciate Will for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. All right, end of the first quarter, Madison Square Garden, Game 2, Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks up 26-24, which is good in theory. The problem is Indiana has not, Pascal Siakam's a good player. He clearly is not one of their best players. Halliburton's their best player. Siakam has 16 points in the first quarter. 16 of Indiana's 24 were scored by Pascal Siakam. He was 6 of 9 from the field, but the Knicks do lead 26-24 at the end of the first quarter. In the National Hockey League, Edmonton up 1-0 in the first period. They're looking to even that Western Conference Final Series with Dallas at a game apiece. We will keep you updated on both games. Coming up next, we'll wrap up our NFC East preview. One division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. This week, it's been about the NFC East. We've already talked with Philadelphia, with Washington. Last night was Dallas. Tonight, we'll end up in the city of New York, the Meadowlands. Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. He's been my New York Giants guy for years. Let's talk Russell Wilson. Let's talk Abdul Carter. Let's talk Jackson Dart. And let's talk about a couple of former Jaguars. 2 Jaguars that were here on defense last year are now with the New York Giants. Do you know who they are? Well, you'll find out if you don't. Coming up next, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post as he wraps up our NFC East preview talking Giants offseason next on a Friday night. It's Hacker After Dark.
No static ever. Download the free 1010XL app for Apple and Android devices and take us with you wherever you go. 1010XL.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and it's always great when you can replace a problem with a promise. And let me get right down to it. When it comes to Chad and Sandy and selling your home, here's a promise that you can count on. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Now, more. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down. Activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though, and hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize hassle is the key. Those expert agents, and I'm recommending them to sell your home, Chad and Sandy Newman. There have been lots of you out there on the First Coast who are taking advantage. Take David and Heather in Fox Ridge. This is out in Orange Park. We wanted to move to Keystone Heights to get closer to family, away from the city. We heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. What you hear is true. We got multiple offers and sold in 3 days for $15,000 above asking price. Call the local experts I trust and recommend to sell my home and yours. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200, ChadAndSandy.com.
Are you ready to play this summer? At the First Coast YMCA, we're committed to being your home for health and wellness and a place for friendly competition with team sports for adults and for kids. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball, flag football, soccer. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Discover all the benefits of YMCA membership and find your fun this summer at the Y. Registration for team sports and summer camps is open now. Visit fcymca.org. ProZet.org.
Attention business owners and property managers. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Is your property ready? Call the ProZet Duck Rooter for expert storm drain cleaning and hydrojetting. Our powerful VACCON truck clears the way so your drains flow freely when the rain hits. Call 904-862-6769 today to schedule your service and protect your property before the storms start rolling in. Duck Rooter, your trusted name in storm drain maintenance. Visit us at duckduckrooter.com. We're a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey, Hicken here, and you know I'm going to talk about skin. Yeah, it's hot outside, folks. The oven is on. Temps are in the 90s, and it's only getting hotter. I love the summer, but my skin doesn't. I do my best with dry fit shirts, big floppy hats, plenty of water. My secret weapon, though, the sunscreen. I use it regularly. Maybe you should as well. Look, I've also been seeing docs at Peaches Dermatology for years, and my skin thanks me for it. I'm telling you, it could save your life. Book your appointment today at peachesdermatology.com.
Get tips from PGA pros on Brunch with the Tour with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser. Tuesday morning at 8:30. Teed up by Clearwater Irrigation and Apex Roofing and Contracting. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
The Summer Starts Here sales event is back at Arlington Toyota. Why does Northeast Florida buy from Arlington Toyota? Because Arlington is the place to go for big selection. I'm talking over 800 vehicles, one location, and 60-day exchange. Plus, during Summer Starts Here, get financing as low as 0% on select new Toyota models. Or how about no payments until January 2026? Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter-mile east of 295, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
This is Hayes Carline, and I'm so proud of my guy, Leon Searcy.
Man, I used to want to eat all the time, but just 1 month on Physician Guided Weight Loss, and I've already dropped 15 pounds.
And I lost 25. No side effects, just results.
The GLP-1 curbs my cravings and keeps me feeling full. It's been easier than I expected, and I feel amazing.
Their staff is great, and best of all, no surprise cost.
If you're ready to bring sexy back this summer, visit pgweightloss.com.
Physician Guided Weight Loss, safe, doctor supervised.
And it works.
E.T. here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. We will go one division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. This week, it's all about the NFC East. We will make stops in Washington. We will make stops in Dallas and Philadelphia. But right now, it's all about the New York Football Giants. Year number 2 from Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter now in the mix. And, of course, what about that quarterback situation? Our guy when it comes to the Giants is Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. And Ryan's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ryan, how we doing, man?
Good. How are you? You starting from the bottom up in the NFC East? Is that the idea?
Well, that wasn't the idea necessarily, but now that you mention that, interesting offseason, though, right? I mean, look, you bring in a couple of name quarterbacks. I don't know how much game they have left. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Let's begin right there. No quarterbacks in the draft, or I guess actually we'll get to that with Jackson Dart, but let's begin with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Where are we with the two veterans that the Giants brought in?
Yeah, the Giants swung and missed, not for lack of trying, on Matthew Stafford. They considered Aaron Rodgers. I think they were more interested in him than he was in them. And then they ended up pivoting to Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston because the idea was that they didn't want to have to throw a rookie right into the fire in a year where they need to, for Shane and Dayball's sake, show some improvement. So they end up with Jackson Dart in the draft, who is going to need some time to develop. And so they feel like they have a perfect caddy situation here where Russell Wilson's the unquestioned starter for X number of games, depending on his performance and the record. Jameis Winston is the guy that they want to keep the locker room loose and to kind of show Jackson Dart the way while Russell Wilson concentrates on the day-to-day and week-to-week and doesn't have to worry about being a mentor, so to speak. And so they feel like they have a 3-quarterback room that's much improved over last year, and then they still have everybody's favorite North Jersey Italian, Tommy DeVito, in the room too.
Love Tommy DeVito. I actually covered him at the Under Armour All-American game back in the day down here in Orlando. All right, you mentioned Jackson Dart. So you trade up in the first round to take Jackson Dart, yet he's not even going to be in the running, you don't believe, as far as opening day for the Giants quarterback job?
No, I've seen people who have said that. I think that would cause ultimate chaos. Russell Wilson would be fuming. I don't think that would be good for Jackson Dart's development to start week 1. Now, look, you tell me they're 0-3, I'll tell you there's a chance. You tell me they're 1-5, I'll tell you there's a chance. But as far as week 1, no, I think they're going to go with Russell Wilson. The job was essentially promised to him. I don't see anything an 11-year veteran could do during training camp to lose the job. He's not going to suddenly throw 13 interceptions in training camp. So, no, I would, short of an injury or something, Russell Wilson will be the Giants' week 1 starter. And then the whole story will be, do they win enough to keep Jackson Dart on the bench? Or with the NFL's most brutal schedule, at what points do we start saying the season's lost, it's about turning the page to the future? And Jameis Winston kind of gets skipped over in both those scenarios.
Our NFC East previews continue with the New York Football Giants. Our guy up in New York is Ryan Dunleavy with the New York Post. All right, let's begin as well with the head coach and the GM. We obviously had a lot of change here in Jacksonville. We know all about change. There was some thought that the Giants would make some changes last offseason. They have not. It is still Brian Daboll. It is still Joe Schoen. They have to win this year, correct? If they don't win this year, they're probably gone.
No, I would disagree. I would have said that to you last month. If you had me on in April, I would have said that. But no, here's what I know about John Mara, the Giants owner, from 7 years of being around him, is he very rarely makes the same mistake twice. And he is convinced in his head that, and I kind of agree with him actually, that firing Pat Shurmur after Daniel Jones's promising rookie year is what ruined Daniel Jones. That people forget he had a couple 5 touchdown games. Daniel Jones was a totally different player. He was freewheeling. He was not the conservative run first quarterback he became later in his career. And so I believe John Mara is convinced that, he did everything he could to screw him up by changing coaches every couple years, coordinators every couple years. So I think personally, now look, you can't go 1-16 and keep your job, but even if they won, say 5-12, I think they'll both be, Shane and Daboll will be back, because I don't see John Mara saying, okay, you guys love Jackson Dart, but now I'm going to fire you 2 guys and bring in a new GM and a new head coach who maybe they had Jackson Dart as a 5th-round prospect and this kid's future is all messed up here. No, I think they'll get their chance for have a full year with Jackson Dart, barring some sort of epic meltdown in the locker room or something.
Well, and look, there's a lot of talent. We talked about Malik Neighbors. Obviously, you also draft Abdul Carter. I mean, they got a lot of young talent in New York.
Yeah, I mean, when you stink every year, you have a top 10 draft pick every year, so you should be able to acquire a lot of talent. Yeah, that's the idea, is they haven't been able to turn those talent into wins. Kayvon Thibodeau's been an okay player, slightly above average, not what you expect with the number 5 pick, not in the Aiden Hutchinson class. Evan Neal's been a total bust as the 7th overall pick. Deonte Banks was a 24th overall pick, went way down last year. So their first round picks have been mostly swings and misses for a long time before Joe Shane got there. And then Malik Neighbors was a sensation last year. And now they're hoping Abdul Carter can be that too. So they've built a really good defense. They're bringing back the same offense that was 30th in the NFL in scoring last year, but with a different quarterback. So what does that tell you? They blame the whole thing on Daniel Jones last year.
I'm not sure you're going to get a lot of questions about these two guys, but because they have Jaguar ties, I'll ask you. Again, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post here with us. Both Roy Robertson Harris and Jeremiah Ledbetter, two guys that spent considerable time here with the Jaguars as of late, have signed in New York. Are both guys locks to make the roster?
No, I would say they're not locks to make the roster. If I was doing a 53-man projection, I'd put them on. But the defensive tackle spot is wide open with the Giants. They were terrible stopping the run last year. They were terrible stopping the run 2 years ago. They have the best defensive tackle in the NFL in Dexter Lawrence. He's a two-way, stop the run, pass rush in your face, and they just haven't been able to find somebody to play well next to him since they traded Leonard Williams. They have Rakeem Nunez-Roches, who's his third year here. He's more of a situational player. They just drafted Darius Alexander in the third round, who they're super high on. If you ask me right now who's the favorite to start, I would say him. But those two veterans you mentioned, Ledbetter and Robertson Harris, I think certainly one of them will be on the team. I would say both of them probably will be. They need depth there. They need somebody. Nobody has stood up and claimed that job next to Dexter Lawrence. So what my guess would be they're going to do is have some fresh legs.
I'm not sure, and I'm sure it has happened at some point. I'd have to go back in the memory banks when a free agent leaves a team, goes to a rival, and has the impact that Saquon Barkley did in Philadelphia last year. Is the Giants fan base ever going to get over that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, even the people who pretend they're over it aren't really over it. No, it was just totally mishandled from the beginning. You won't find an example of a team another example of somebody doing what Saquon's done, because it's never happened ever, probably in any sport. So, no, I don't think they'll get over it. They're bitter about it, and the ones who are like, oh well, the Giants made the right move. Even they would say, well, they didn't handle it right. If they made the right move, then you should have traded him somewhere the year before or whatever. No, it was totally mishandled from the get-go. And Giants fans try to blame it on Saquon Barkley, but anybody who sees the truth realizes the organization botched that one.
Final moments, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. All right, you alluded to this earlier, Ryan. When it comes to the NFC East, obviously Washington looks like they're going to be really good. We know Philadelphia is the defending world champion. Dallas, who knows? And then the thought nationally is the Giants are down the peg a little bit when it comes to the NFC East ladder. Is that the way it's being looked up there, or do they think they can surprise some people?
Internally, they feel like they can surprise some people, and optimistic Giants fans think that. Right, if you can't be optimistic about your team on May 20th or whatever, then you can never be optimistic about your team. So they always feel that way. Me as an impartial, neutral observer, look, I think the team's really good. We didn't really talk about the defense. I think they have 6 new starters on the defense. I think they could have a top 10 caliber defense. So I think the team's much improved, but I still think they're the 4th best team in their division. Plus they play the AFC West, which is loaded. Plus they play the NFC North, which is loaded. That's how you get a brutal schedule. So I think they could be a much better team than last year and still go 5-12. Just have a more watchable product than they had last year.
You mentioned that defense. They did open the wallet for Javon Holland. What's the expectation for him up there?
The expectation is that he could play like Xavier McKinney, the guy they let go 2 years ago in free agency, who became a first-team All-Pro for the Packers. They think Holland has that kind of potential. He obviously is coming off a bad year, but his arrow was pointing way up. The 3 years before that, he was a captain at like 24 with the Dolphins, versatile guy. So they tried to get an offensive lineman, Will Fries, who went from the Colts to the Vikings. The Giants got outbid there, and they turned around, and rather than pay the next best offensive lineman, they pivoted to the guy they thought was the next best player, and that was Holland. And that's how you get a secondary that should be much improved from what they were trotting out there last year. Probably the NFL's worst secondary.
All right, Ryan, as we wrap up, I got to ask you, man, being in New York, I mean, what is it like up there with the Knicks doing what they're doing for the first time in a quarter century?
It's amazing. It's that they're the one team that unites New York, because it's Yankees or Mets, or it's Giants or Jets, or it's Rangers or Islanders or Devils. The one team everybody, with no disrespect to the Nets, the one team everybody in New York rallies around is the Knicks. So it's been a crazy time for the fans up here. The games, people are flooding the streets afterwards, and I'm trying to write stuff on the Giants and Jets to get in the New York Post, and they're like, we just have no space. We have 37 Knicks stories today. So it's a time where it's a one-team city right now, even during baseball season.
And of all the teams to play in the Eastern Conference Finals, I mean, the aura of Reggie Miller and Rick Smits and those unbelievable Pacer-Knick games, I just think this series is going to be crazy good. I'm really looking forward to it. What's the vibe up there about the series?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's flashbacks to those great Ewing, Smiths, Miller, Starks battles. Last year they met in the playoffs, so this feels a little like 99, 2000 or 94, 95, where it's back-to-back years. They went to a Game 7 last year. Halliburton wore a sweatshirt that had a Reggie Miller doing the choking symbol on it, so he's the new Reggie. He's the new Reggie Miller here in town. So, and obviously he's playing at a really high level. So, Jalen Brunson's the king in New York right now, and the rest of the Knicks are really not that far behind.
Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. Ryan, we obviously know there's a lot of New York fans here in the city of Jacksonville. Where can the Giant fans here in Northeast Florida find your work?
Yeah, NewYorkPost.com/Giants/Jets has all the stuff from our cast of great NFL writers, not just me, the columnists, the other NFL beat writers, and then me personally, I'm on Twitter at R-Y Dunleavy.
He's our guy when it comes to the New York Football Giants, Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. Ryan, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Dan Hicken.
Intuitive improvisation. It's the secret of genius.
Jeff Prosser.
I don't know karate, but I know crazy, and I will use it.
They are the drill.
And I see the clowns playing their parts to perfection.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Join us at Miller Electric May 29th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're on the lookout for talented people, from entry level to experienced electricians and foremen, security system installation and service technicians, fire alarm system service technicians, and both senior and junior VDV technicians. This is your chance to get hired on the spot. Meet the managers, indulge in delicious food, and snag some awesome giveaways. Don't miss out on this electrifying chance to power up your career. Miller Electric, May 29th, 4 to 7 p.m., 6805 South Point Parkway.
Get this. Joey and me were supposed to go to this concert next week, right? But then something terrible happened. Joey was driving without a seatbelt. But he didn't wreck. No, he got pulled over. Now Joey has to pay for a seatbelt ticket instead of a concert ticket, and I have to go by myself. How lame is that? So Joey, if you're out there, you're an idiot. Wear your seatbelt or you'll get a ticket.
All across the country, cops are cracking down. Click it or ticket, day and night.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers, and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Ackerman Urology has 4 convenient locations providing advanced urological care to improve men's health and sexual vitality. Don't suffer through prostate, bladder, or kidney issues. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Mike Dempsey, and now's the time to get your roof hurricane ready with Apex Roofing and Contracting of Jacks Beach. Look, our rainy season is no joke, and if your roof's got damage, leaks, or it's just plain worn out, don't wait. Apex is local, dependable, and will show up on time using only premium materials with ironclad warranties. No shortcuts, no stress, just quality work you can trust. Skip the storm season scramble. Reach for the peak with Apex Roofing and Contracting in Jacks Beach, or visit apexroofingfl.com.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit CoilJacks.com, COYLE, Jacks.com.
At Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach, you just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it, come see us.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock into Memorial Day weekend here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Coming up in 35 minutes or so, towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. We'll talk a little Florida, a little Florida State, preseason magazines, some conference issues in both the ACC and the SEC, and a little bit on Boogie Flan heading to Florida. So all that coming up with Brent Beard at the bottom of the hour. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com. I was telling Baloo this earlier. You know, like no one's ever going to confuse me for a diehard baseball fan. I watch enough of it to be able to talk about it. But am I going to break down the starting rotation of the Anaheim Angels for you? No, I'm probably not. If you want the thorough breakdown of the 3, 4, and 5 hitters for the Minnesota Twins, this is probably not the show for you. But we'll talk Braves, we'll talk Rays, we'll talk big picture. But in getting into Memorial Day weekend, I thought, good grief, I haven't had one baseball guest on yet. They must be getting towards the quarter pole of the season, right, which would be roughly 40 games. Most teams have played over 50 games. Where did that time go? We've been so immersed in Gator basketball and Travis Hunter and Jaguar OTAs and everything that's gone on. I mean, 50 games into the Major League Baseball season. So Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com will join me. Denmark, you're a Braves fan. Ronald Acuna back in the lineup tonight. Boy, again, an anomaly, I guess. Was it literally the first pitch that he saw after the injury? And this is the first game he's played all year, right? Goes yard on the first pitch that he sees. That's unbelievably impressive.
Yeah, he was doing pretty good in his rehab, and his first pitch, I'm trying to find. I saw it somewhere. How far? He hit it 467.
It was pretty much it wasn't dead center. It was like more like left center, but it was towards one of the deeper ends of the ballpark there in Atlanta. He crushed that thing. I remember when the Braves were 0-7 and the sky was falling. Obviously, Denmark, they've righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, now this week earlier, Spencer Strider came back, Acuna's back, so the guys have came back, but the big part is the relief pitching has been atrocious at times. Like earlier this week, they lost to the Nationals, had a big lead last week, had the Red Sox up like 6-2, 6-3, blew that lead. So yeah, the Braves have rode the ship. They win tonight, which they're tied right now 1-1 in the middle of the seventh. They're back to 500. Seems like they've been stuck there for the last 2 weeks, but they're healthy at the right time, and hopefully they can, they seem like they're going to get a playoff spot, but obviously it's a little too early to tell right now.
Yeah, so Matt Snyder of CBSSports.com will join me to talk Atlanta Braves. We'll hit on the Yankees, the Dodgers, the big storylines. The Red Sox have a little resurgence this year. They're pretty good. Boy, the Baltimore Orioles are terrible. I mean, I remember Baltimore was really, really good the past couple of years. They're awful. And the Colorado Rockies are flirting with history. Like, I don't know what the worst 50-game mark in Major League Baseball history is, but I would have to think that it can't be a whole lot worse than 8-42, which is where Colorado is. How do you go 8-42?
They have the worst MLB start since the 1800s.
Right. I mean, 8-42. And to the knowledge that you still have 110 games to play, and you're already 34 games below 500. Absolutely wild. All right, playoffs going on right now in both the NHL and the NBA. Edmonton up 1-0 on Dallas. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Of course, Florida's up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals over Carolina, but Edmonton tonight looking to even up that series with Dallas. And a back-and-forth game at Madison Square Garden. About 90 seconds to go in the first half. The Knicks lead the Pacers 48-47, actually 50-47 now. But an unbelievably competitive basketball game. Pascal Siakam's got 23 of Indiana's 47. My concern, if I'm a New York Knicks fan, you're only up 3, and Tyrese Halliburton has 2 points. 2 points for Halliburton, who's clearly Indiana's best player. He's 1 of 6 from the field. He's obviously struggling tonight, but the Knicks are in a battle despite that. If Halliburton gets hot in the second half, that probably won't bode well. But again, the Knicks holding on to a 50-49 lead, approaching halftime. They're desperately trying to even up that series at a game apiece. If Indiana goes up 2-0 in that series with both wins coming on the road, you would imagine it's probably curtains for the Knicks than having to win 4 out of 5 and having to win 2 in Indiana. So the Knicks, it's almost a must-win tonight. We'll keep you updated, but right now a very close 1-point ball game with about a minute to go there in the second quarter. Memorial Day weekend coming up, in case I don't get the chance later on. Obviously, 3-day weekend. We love that. Love the start of summer. I know a lot of parties are planned, a lot of things going on. I always do take a moment, though. I had a lot of family members that served in the United States military. Thankfully, none of my family members that served lost their lives while in the United States military. I know there's a lot of families nationally, regionally, and locally that do not have that as a backdrop, that they've lost family members in the line of duty. So always, obviously, just take a minute You know, we enjoy Memorial Day for the summer. We enjoy Memorial Day for the cold cocktails and the fellowship and the parties and everything that goes with it. But it is Memorial Day for a reason. So I always like to always point that out, to just take a memorial, a remembrance of those that have died fighting for our country. Coming up next, Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com, talking Major League Baseball heading in to Memorial Day weekend. That's next on a Friday night here on Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
There's an energy and drama to play-by-play sports.
This crowd, a big factor.
You never know what's going to happen.
Wow!
Feel the energy on 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
I mean, to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could visit.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by November 6th.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Hey, Hicken here, and you know I'm going to talk about skin. Yeah, it's hot outside, folks. The oven is on. Temps are in the 90s, and it's only getting hotter. I love the summer, but my skin doesn't. I do my best with dry-fit shirts, big floppy hats, plenty of water. My secret weapon, though, the screen, sunscreen. I use it regularly. Maybe you should as well. Look, I've also been seeing docs at Peaches Dermatology for years, and my skin thanks me for it. I'm telling you, it could save your life. Book your appointment today at PeachesDermatology.com.
Hunters Know Patience is part of the game.
Just got to keep hunting.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnet Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and Triumph has branched off from on-road to off-road. Give us the latest on what they've got.
They have. They've got the 250 and the 450. Rick Carmichael designed these bikes himself, and they are bad to the bone.
So you're talking about a really cool effect from a bike off-road that Triumph had on-road forever.
It is, and it's out there winning races, and it is fun to ride.
Check it out, Cycles of Jacksonville, their showroom on Atlantic near Regency, or online on their Facebook page.
This Memorial Day, Navy Mutual salutes Yogi Berra, an 18-time All-Star catcher for the Yankees. Berra was a member of the U.S. Navy during World War II. Berra served as a gunner's mate on the USS Bayfield during the D-Day invasion.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
Say goodbye to glasses and contacts with customized vision treatments at Bowden Associates. Hey, Hicken here. Dr. Bowden and his expert team bring you all the latest options like Evo implantable Collamer lenses, refractive lens exchange, or traditional LASIK. Tailored just for you. Imagine waking up to clear vision. No hassle, no fuss. You ready to see the difference? Call now or visit BowdenEye.com for a free screening. Bowden Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. You know, we've been so caught up in the Jacksonville Jaguars and Travis Hunter and even the Gator basketball team and everything that's gone on. You look at that sports calendar, particularly in the standings in Major League Baseball, we're at the 50-game mark already. Absolutely wild how quick it's moving by as we get to the latter stages of May. Of course, Memorial Day weekend on the horizon. Let's look back at the first 50 games of the Major League Baseball season for almost every team out there. Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com, does a terrific job covering the Major League Baseball ranks, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Matt, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Just loving the Major League Baseball season so far, but also I'm a Pacers fan, so I'm loving the NBA playoffs too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, what a year for the Pacers as they're actually playing. Yeah, the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Absolutely. All right, let's get into hardball, and let's begin with the Atlanta Braves. Matt, I'm old enough to remember when the Braves were like 0-7, and Brave fans were just absolutely in a full-blown panic. And now here we are. They're back around the 500 mark. How have they turned things around, and what's your thought on them for the next month or so?
Well, it's a veteran team. They've been through the battles before. They know that they've come back from a 10-game deficit in the division before. So they can come together in the clubhouse and say, look, we're going to get better. They weren't even full strength to start the year. They didn't have Spencer Strider. They still don't have Ronald Acuna Jr. And it's just they've shown their maturity here over the probably last month or so, when the mindset should just be you don't try to get that 0-7 back in one or two games. It's just win series, win series, win series. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Taking 2 of 3 is just fine. It's just win as many series as you can, start stacking those wins. And that's what they've done to climb their way back to 500. They will need to, because of the hole that they dug for themselves, have another hot streak to get back good enough over 500 to make the playoffs, of course. But they're already halfway there in terms of climbing back to 500.
Yeah, at the time you and I are talking, they're 6 games back of Philadelphia in the NL East. What about Philadelphia? What about New York? You know, Mets fans, it's so funny. They'll lose a couple of games, and they, too, are like, well, the sky is falling. Yet you look at the standings, and right now the Mets are almost 10 games above 500. What's that dynamic, in your opinion, like with the Phillies and the Mets?
Yeah, it's a fatalistic fan base. They like to whine, I guess, for lack of a better term. They like to feel sorry for themselves and act like they have it way harder than anybody else. The Mets are good. They've actually been getting starting pitching way better than most people thought they would get. Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas went down in spring training. They didn't sign anybody from outside the organization for huge money. They converted Clay Holmes. They signed him from the Yankees. They converted him from closer to starter. That's worked out well. They grabbed Griffin Canning off the scrap heap. That has worked very well. David Stearns, their general manager, when he was with the Brewers, was great at finding bargain basement guys and getting the most out of them in the rotation. And that's working in New York. Now in New York, he can spend money and he can sign Juan Soto and he can bring Pete Alonso back in addition to having Francisco Lindor. So they're going to have a good offense. It was just a matter of, can he work his magic with the pitching staff? And I think he has. The Phillies, ebbs and flows. They started off really hot, then they were cold for a second, but now they've been hot for about a month. That's the way it's going to go with this team. It's a hot and cold team. They have a very good playoff type roster, which is 3 or 4 great starting pitchers, a bunch of power hitters in the lineup. If they all get hot at the same time, they're dangerous, but they can also get cold at the same time, like they did in the playoffs against the Mets last year. So it's just a matter of which team shows up when it matters most, but they are going to be there in October. I expect that this division is going to have at least 2 playoff teams for sure. The question is, will there be a third? And that might be the question that the Braves answer either positively or negatively.
Matt Snyder of CBS Sports. While we're in the National League, you look in the NL West, you got 4 teams above 500. In the NL Central, you basically have 4 teams at 500 or better. I think Milwaukee is just 1 game back of the 500 mark. What's a quick thought from you on both the West and the Central?
I feel like the Cubs are the best team. Clearly, they're only up by 2 games going into today's action, but I think that they're going to win the division. It's just going to matter how they shuffle their rotation when they get closer to the trade deadline. The Cardinals feel like they're playing over their heads right now, and once the schedule gets a little bit tougher, I think they'll fade. I think the Reds are good. I think they're probably better than their record. I think they'll be the team that pushes the Cubs, and you can never, ever count the Brewers out. They always find a way to get it done like they did last year. A lot of people, myself included, had them in last place last year, and then they won the division. So they're going to be someone who matters. I think the Cardinals end up in 4th there, and it's Reds pushing the Cubs, maybe the Brewers as well.
And the Dodgers, the Dodgers are really good, obviously, with all that payroll. They better be. But yet they only find themselves 4 games up on San Francisco, San Diego, and Arizona. A game up on the Giants, a game and a half on the Padres, and 4 on the Diamondbacks. I mean, the NL West is probably the best division in baseball, is it not?
Yeah, it is. At least 1 through 4. I mean, the Rockies do a lot of
that's true.
heavy
that's
lifting
awful.
in the other direction.
Yeah.
And those teams will get a beat up on the Rockies a little bit throughout the season. So as good as those 4 teams are, they get kind of a bonus there. And similar to how the AL got it last with the White Sox, and then they got 3 playoff teams in there in addition to the Twins flirting for 4th place. I think the NL West will be similar this year in that I do think the Dodgers are going to win the division. They have so many injuries to the rotation right now, but they have so many pitchers who are studs when they're on. Yamamoto's basically doing the heavy lifting right now. But, by the end of the year, I assume Glasnow will be back. Blake Snell will be back. Ohtani's going to get up on the hill. Maybe Kershaw gets things together. They have a lot of talented pitchers, and once that comes together, then they're a juggernaut. I do believe, as I said, they'll win the division, but I believe in the Padres, and the Giants are one of those teams that always seems to perform better than they look on paper. They're a punch above their weight team, so you can't count them out in terms of a playoff spot. And also, I think the Diamondbacks are better than they've been playing. I think they're better than just 3 games over 500. So, yeah, it's a formidable division.
Matt, not to break down the X's and O's of the Rockies for our Jacksonville audience, because I'm not sure anybody would care, but 8-40, man. I mean, how does that happen?
They have terrible management from the top. The front office is awful. They haven't developed players. They're last in the league in analytics department. They've made some bad signings like Chris Bryant, and he's been, injuries have totally derailed his career, and he's worth pretty much nothing at this point, unfortunately, on the field. Just a confluence of events, bad trades. When they traded Nolan Arenado, they didn't get enough back. And then they went out and they signed Chris Bryant. Again, that's a 0. So that's probably as far as you care to dive into it. But it is, if you imagine an NFL team that goes, 0-17, pretty much everything has to go wrong. That's how it's gone.
I mean, 8-40. That's absolutely incredible. Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com. Matt, quickly before we go to the American League, is 50 games a big enough sample to figure out who these teams are? Do we have a pretty good idea 50 games in who's good and who's not?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there are cases where the 2022 Phillies were well under 500 right now, and then they fired their manager, then they got hot. But you could see the talent there. The Braves a couple of years ago were down 10 games going into June to the Mets, and they ran them down and won the division. But again, they were, I believe it was 2022, so they were the defending champs. You knew the talent was there. You can generally go around and pick out, hey, this team, as I said, like I think the Cardinals are overperforming, or, you know, now the Braves are at 500, but a couple weeks ago we could have said, hey, the Braves are going to be better. But yeah, for the most part, you have a general idea, hey, this is probably the way things are going to go.
Yankees have a 4.5 game cushion in the AL East. Is anybody going to challenge them?
I don't think so at this point. It's probably too early to declare that, because the Red Sox do have a lot of talent, and if they kind of put things together, they might be able to push them. I suppose you could say the same for the Blue Jays. The Orioles were the team that was supposed to push the Yankees, and they're pathetic, and I think that this is a lost season for them. So, you know, Rays, we'll see. The Rays have been put in a tough situation over the summer months, and they didn't start well enough for me to think that they can get back up there and push the Yankees.
I'll give Tampa credit. I had a buddy of mine go down to one of their games. I mean, they're playing where the Yankees do spring training, for crying out loud, because the Trop got obviously messed up in that hurricane last year. They've made about as good a situation out of that as you can. They've been selling it out. It looks good on television. I'll give the Rays organization credit for that.
I totally agree. And it's on the Tampa side and not all the way over in St. Pete. So it's easier for a large part of the metro area to get there. The problem is, because it's not under a dome and it's unbearably hot in the middle of the summer months, they stacked them up with the road games in the summer months, which means they played a ton of home games already, and they've gone 12-18 at home so far. If they wanted to be contenders, that at least should have been flipped in 18-12, or even better than that. Take advantage of all those early home games. But again, it's like I said, they were put in a tough situation because it's not really even their home. The players aren't used to that. It's not like, hey, we're comfortable here. They're showing up and playing in an unfamiliar ballpark. So it was just, they were put in a tough situation from the get-go.
Matt, as we begin to wrap up, the Detroit Tigers have the best record in baseball. Are they the best team right now?
No. Well, yes, they have the best record right now. I still think teams like the Phillies and Dodgers are more talented and will end up better. The Cubs probably are in that bucket, maybe even the Yankees. The Tigers, the chore for them down the stretch is going to be how well the starting pitching holds up. I'm not worried about Skubal, the reigning Cy Young winner, but it's guys like Jackson Jobe and Casey Mize who haven't done it for a full season. I feel like that might catch up with them down the stretch. But yeah, for now they have the best record and they look great, and it's a really fun story.
All right, trade deadline. It's never too early to at least start thinking about it. Again, we're already 50 games in. Is there a big name, 2 or 3, that you can think of that might be on the move here in the next month and a half or so?
The easy and obvious place to start is the White Sox, because they're obviously in stellar mode, and Luis Robert, who has been an all-star before, but he's been awful this year to the point that he himself even said, who would want to trade for me right now? He said that a couple days ago. Past that, everybody can get their hands off Paul Skeens. He's not going anywhere from the Pirates. I think the Marlins have some interesting players who might be available. Everybody wants to talk about Sandy Alcantara, the Cy Young winner from a few years ago, but he's been bad. Maybe Ryan Weathers, a lefty there. Maybe Tyler Anderson from the Angels, a left-handed pitcher there. As you can see, I'm not knocking your socks off with the big names. Those usually come once we get a little bit closer and teams have fallen out. Let's say the Blue Jays fall out of the race, for example, and they decide to trade Bo Bichette. Something like that could happen.
Matt, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, CBSSports.com, the coverage you'll have coming out in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, I'm working on an all-fun team, just kind of the most fun players to watch. And I also just interviewed John Smoltz about 45 minutes ago, so I've got some good stuff from Smoltz coming as well.
Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com. Matt, I know it's a busy time for you. Thanks for taking time out for us here in Jacksonville. We'll talk again soon, pal.
All right, take care.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
Cook puts it down. Wright kicks it up. The 53-yarder is good, good, good. What a magnificent ending in London.
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Hey,
Jacksonville. I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OWN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OWN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OWN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
It's the perfect day. You're just driving along, listening to your favorite music, the windows down. There's a cool breeze. Life is good. But wait, hold on a second. You're not wearing a seatbelt? You'd better put that on before that... Uh-oh, too late. Cops everywhere are stepping up enforcement, so you'd better buckle up or you will get caught. Sorry to ruin your day. Click it or ticket.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Skilled trade jobs are booming, so begin your high-pay, high-demand career today through the Northeast Florida Builders Association. Their apprenticeship program provides paid training in some of the most highly sought-after skilled trades. Get paid while you train, full-time, in carpentry, electrical, HVAC, or plumbing. Plus, earn a 10% raise every year, and the classes are 100% tuition-free. Start your new career today and apply this week at nefpaapprenticeship.org.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 3:20 for the latest in sports injuries. From all the big names in the game, who's MIA, who's coming back from injury. Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 3:20.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Got a cracked windshield? Not only is it dangerous, but did you know it's also illegal? Call Baker Glass. Matt and his crew use the best auto glass in the market, and they accept most insurance. Plus, all new windshields come with a full warranty. From cars to trucks to RVs, you can count on Baker Glass to be fast and friendly. Just check out their Google reviews. Come see us at the shop on Casta Avenue, or we can come to you at your home or business.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
If you're tired of weekend projects turning into weekend disasters, you're not alone. Building a fence isn't as easy as it looks. And let's face it, your neighbor still hasn't fixed his lopsided masterpiece. But Superior Fence and Rail makes it easy. Highly trained professionals, top quality materials, and a fence you'll love for years to come. Skip the stress and call the pros today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline, and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, where is the time going? We are getting into the latter stages of May. Memorial Day, good grief, is on the horizon. And that means preseason college football magazines are right around the corner. I know that makes my guy Brent Beard unbelievably happy. You see Brent Beard on First Coast News, and we're lucky enough to have him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Mr. Beard, how are you, sir?
Well, it is a merry month of May, and it's quickly moving around us. But, yes, one of the really looked for anticipated events of May or the magazines, but the reality is they're going to be a little bit delayed this year. Hack, Lindy's national magazine coming out on June 3rd, SEC edition on June 17th, and then Phil Steele, his magazine goes to press June the 6th, and it will come out on July the 4th. Now, it will be probably a little bit more accurate, let's be honest about that. I've also talked to a writer for Athlon who said they will have a slimmed down edition this year. It will be about 450 words per team and a two-deep. So it will be just the facts is kind of what it amounts to. So that's a brief magazine update as we still wait with bated breath.
Well, those preseason magazines are like a rite of passage. I mean, I go back, golly, Brent, I'm 41. I bet you 30 years I've gotten a preseason
easily
college football magazine, even though everything's morphed online now and the world, the World Wide Web is where we all live on a daily basis. There is still something about a preseason college football magazine.
Well, it's almost like getting a newspaper, frankly. And oftentimes it will be outdated quickly, but if you're a college football fan and you have got a magazine in your hand at the beach or just on a lazy Saturday afternoon and you can take a look at it, kind of whet your appetite a little bit. And look, for guys like me and you, they are invaluable, aren't they, Hack? Listen, if nothing else, just to have a schedule in a two-deep is worth the price of a magazine.
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, we're also getting some clarity about week number 1, some times coming out, some networks coming out, and we know that Lee Corso's final college game day will be August 30th, week 1 of the college football season. I think the speculation all along is that he needs to do it in Tallahassee with his alma mater, and that appears to be the direction we're going, Brent.
This was had some different reports about it early on. Now, I attribute this to Brett McMurphy, who said it appears that Lee Corso's last headgear game will be at Alabama at Florida State. Now, there was some real speculation that it would be at Texas at Ohio State, and obviously Fox is there. Now, look, Fox and ESPN have done the same games together in the past. I mean, they haven't done their TV event together, but they were on site together. So that's what it looks like, and heck, I would agree that would be quite appropriate. And we need to remember too, many changes at both the schools in terms of personnel. And the biggest change on that day will be showing that stadium. About 100 times during the game, and all the nuances that are there.
Yeah, I saw a great idea. I mean, it needs to be in Tallahassee for Corso, and maybe at the end of the broadcast have him with the spear. And I don't think Ole Lee's going to get on Renegade anytime soon. That was the idea, but kind of have him ride off into the sunset. Boy, it'll be a lot different without Lee Corso on our Saturday morning college football pre-games, no question about it. Brent, since we're on Florida State, let me go there. You know, May, June, and July in the world of college football, hope springs eternal, right? You're thinking we're going to be better than people think, or this is our year. And I think that most, if not all schools, truly believe that. And I think Florida State fans probably believe that. But I will tell you, Brent, the more national and regional college football analysts that I have on here as you know, we get into the summer months and I ask about Florida State, I get the vibe that there's not a ton of optimism. They think they're going to be better, right? That's relative, though. I mean, you can't be any worse than 2-10. But what's your thought on the 2025 Noles? Because I'm not sensing an overwhelming amount of confidence with some of these guys I talked to about Florida State.
No, there really isn't. I was at the Mike Norvell was in town in Jacksonville last week, had a chance to attend. I mean, he certainly said, we're not going to waste 2-10. We're going to learn from it. But they have made a lot of changes. They've replaced Alice Atkins as offensive coordinator with Gus Malzahn and Herb Hand. They've also replaced Adam Fuller, the offensive coordinator, or in defense, with Tony White. Now, they got a late pickup that people are talking about a little bit, and I think they did a good job with this. Gavin Sawchuk, who was at Oklahoma, the running back, they picked him up, and obviously the ACC had their spring meeting, so they talked about this a little bit last week. Also at Amelia Island, Sawchuk runs a 10.600 meter, so that's going to help. I mean, they've got a decent running back room. Roydell Williams from Alabama is also with that group too, and Thomas Castellanos, I think, is the big question mark at quarterback coming over from Boston College. A dual threat guy. How accurate is he going to be? But to your point, Hank, there will not be a lot of folks, and hopefully they can do something to change this, who will be predicting Florida State very high in the rankings this year.
You know, maybe after a couple of year hiatus on the national scene, Brent, people seem to love Clemson coming into the year. Do you love Clemson?
Yeah. Well, if you ask me, do I buy or sell Clemson? I would say buy. I think they are going to be very good. Frankly, Klubnik comes back at quarterback. Allen they got from Penn State as the new defensive coordinator. That's going to be really good. Their D-line could probably play in the NFL right now. They are very good, but this is going to be very interesting. Opener, LSU at home, and LSU's lost the last 5 or 6 games to open the season, and that they're on a really difficult streak with that. They need to break it. So, and look, and I think in his early top 25, I think Josh Pate picked Clemson to win the national championship.
He had him number 1, the post-spring rankings. Yeah, he had him number 1. I had Josh on earlier this week, and we talked about that. And for Florida State fans that were mad that their game against Alabama was 3:30 and not the night game, you know why it wasn't the night game? Because you got Clemson and LSU as the night game. So that's exactly why Florida State was, I guess, relegated, if you will, to the 3:30 time slot. A couple of more with Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, interesting news that you sent out in your notes column this week about the revenue that the big conferences made in the calendar year of 2024. And we know that the almighty dollar is taking over college athletics and college football primarily, but the money that poured into the Big Ten and the SEC in 2024, holy moly, Brent.
This is why the Big Ten and the SEC are making the decisions, is because they make the most money and they have the biggest ratings. Big Ten, $928 million, SEC, $839 million. Now the ACC didn't do too badly, as much as they've been criticized, with $711 million. Pac-12, $566 million. Big 12, 493. But you're right. This is money. Hank, think about this. That is without the expanded playoffs, and we firmly believe they're going from 12 to 16, and obviously the TV money that goes along with that. The money is just in another stratosphere, isn't it?
Well, and that, you mentioned the ACC, Brent, and you're right, $711 million. I mean, it's nothing to scoff at. But when you're competing against your SEC rivals, some of which are in the same state as your ACC schools, and the SEC's got $130 million more of revenue, you divide that over 16 schools, you're talking about just $8-9 million, bam, right then and there, that the SEC program gets over the ACC program.
It is. And look, people have got to take that in consideration and don't think for a minute that somewhere in the recruiting pitch that money is not mentioned in there to recruits.
All right, Brent, I want to actually end with some news on Gator basketball with Boogie Flan from Arkansas. It was a big transfer this week. Do you have anything else for us as far as the SEC meetings going on next week?
Meetings begin on Tuesday. That is, and by the way, that's a humongous pickup for Florida, to say the least, in basketball. But to me, the big thing for the SEC meetings, and this will be discussed, and I think it will be discussed more seriously than it ever has been, do they want to go to 9 SEC football conference games? They're at 8. What they found out now is TV is willing to pay more for an additional game, so that would give you not only another game, it would be more money, and it would also take care of likely one of the sisters of the poor that fans complain about. But Hank, you and I both know the reality for that is you play another SEC game, you can have just one more loss on that schedule too, right?
There's no doubt. And quickly, you ultimately think that is where it lands, right? They're going to go to 9 sooner rather than later? I
think here's the thing to watch for. The new contract is 2026 through 2031. And that's kind of where all these things are heading right now. Again, the playoff, the 12 will be again this year. I think 16 starts next year. But, heck, if you're going to be kind of uniform with all this, and I don't know if they could do it this quickly, but if that's what they want to do, you may have a situation where the ball really gets rolling for them to be looking at 9 conference games as soon as next year if they want to go along with that contract.
Final moments with Brent Beard. Brent, let's end with this. We mentioned Boogie Flan to Florida. They got news earlier this week as well that Ruben Chinyelu is coming back, awaiting word on Alex Condon, but I think most people believe that he will ultimately come back as well. And I got to tell you, after losing Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton, Will Richard, and maybe unexpectedly losing Denzel Aberdeen, maybe there was a little trepidation among Gator fans. All of a sudden, you bring in A.J. Brown, Xavier Lee, Boogie Flan, you get Chinyelu back, you get Houck back. If they get Condon back, what a job Todd Golden has done rebuilding this national championship roster.
It'll be phenomenal, and they will be in the top 5 in every one of the early preseason rankings. Well-deserved. and with that line, look, it won't be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but heck, they conceivably could repeat with that lineup.
They could, and look, we know how hard it is to win a national championship. So, yes. Look what Florida did. They were down 9 with 2:52 to go against Texas Tech. They trailed at the under 4 media timeout against UConn. Auburn was a battle. Obviously, Houston was a battle. So we know how hard it is. But, Brent, just the fact that you lose all the talent that they did and to replace that talent with what you were able to replace it with, I think Todd Golden might have done as good as he possibly could have this offseason.
He really has. And look, as you mentioned, and I concur, Condon is the wild card here. If Condon comes back, and look, could you argue down the stretch of the season last year, Hank, Condon was easily one of the best big men, and I would say certainly in the top 5, if not the top 3. There were times he almost was number 1 in the nation. So if he comes back, the excitement in the ticket sales will be out of the roof.
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk again next week, pal.
Good. Can't wait, bud. Take care.
And thank you to my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him right here weekly on Hacker After Dark, as we touched upon a lot going on in the world of collegiate athletics. As, look, it's a big weekend, a Memorial Day weekend. The baseball tournament will be decided this weekend. The softball College World Series, we will know what's happening there by the end of the weekend. And preseason magazines are out. Look, we talked to Will Miles earlier, readandreaction.com. The Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine is out, effective today. You got Wendy's coming out early in the month of June. I believe June 3rd is the date that goes to the newsstands, if you will. So a lot going on, and we appreciate Brent Beard for joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark. Certainly talked a lot about that, and obviously talked a lot about the National Football League as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars back on the field next week for OTAs. I'll actually be down there on Tuesday next week, scheduled to talk with linebacker Devin Lloyd. And quite frankly, there's a lot to talk about to Devin Lloyd. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation next Tuesday out at the Miller Electric Center. And, of course, we'll bring that to you right here next Tuesday evening on Hacker After Dark. Well, that will just about do it, man. It has been a very busy Friday night and a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Thank you to Matt Snyder, CBSSports.com, covering the world of Major League Baseball. Hard to believe almost every team is already 50 games in to their season. We'll be hitting the halfway point in just over a month, which is absolutely wild to think about. But we certainly appreciate Matt Snyder of CBS Sports taking time out for us tonight. Back in hour number 1, we wrapped up our NFC East previews. We already made stops in Philadelphia, Washington, and Dallas tonight. It was all about the New York Football Giants. Appreciate Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post for dropping by. Ryan's my guy when it comes to the New York Giants, and appreciate his time reviewing the Giants offseason and looking ahead to 2025. That wraps up our NFC East preview. Next week, back into the AFC with the AFC North. We will make stops in Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati as we go one division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. And we also talked with Will Miles, as I mentioned earlier. ReadandReaction.com. The Read and Reaction Florida Gator preseason magazine is available starting today, and we appreciate Will joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark. Now, we will be back on Tuesday, and next week, a little double duty. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, not only will I be on here, obviously, Hacker After Dark, but I'll also be in with Hayes Carline on the Frangie Show from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So looking forward to that opportunity, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer. tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Friday evening and your entire week with us here on Hacker After Dark. As we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we absolutely appreciate it. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Friday evening and an absolutely fantastic Memorial Day weekend. And we will talk to you again on Tuesday, both at 4 o'clock and then right back here at 8 o'clock